Now, where do we get saturated fats and where do we get unsaturated fats? Well, very, very much, I'm going to say almost all, but it's not all, almost all fats found in plants, that's in our diet, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, avocado, are going to be unsaturated. They're going to have these open links, yeah? In the animal products, and this is all animal products without exception, you're going to find there are saturated fats. All the links have been used up. Now we find ourselves thinking, well, I wonder why that is. Why is it in nature that all the links are used up on the meat and dairy products, and it's dairy as well, but all the links are open on the plants? Well, here's why. When you take in an unsaturated fat from a plant, you take it into your body and your body says, oh, goody, goody. We have some fat here that we can use for things like hormone manufacture and so on and so forth. So what your body does in be able to use that unsaturated fat is it adds things on to the open gaps, yeah? And by adding, it's the process of being able to add things on by your body that makes it usable by your body, yeah? So let's take the dear old cow. There is the cow grazing away in the field, and it's eating grass, and the grass is a plant, so the plant fats have loads of these open links, yeah? It takes it into its cow body and goes, oh, goody, goody, I can use this, and it adds all the bits the cow needs onto it. But what's it now become? Saturated. And that is why all the animal creatures and their mammary secretions and ovums all have saturated fat, whereas the plants have the unsaturated fats. Because in the food chain, obviously, the plants were the original providers of all nutrients. Think about that. I mean, even that one sentence alone makes you kind of think, okay. The plant world is the provider of all initial nutrients, with the exception of a couple that we synthesize or other creatures do within their own bodies. So all animals are going to take unsaturated fats, convert them to saturated, and then at that point, no other animal can use it. If I eat that cow, which of course I wouldn't, but if I ate that cow, I would then take into my system saturated fats, and my body would say, well, I've got no use for this. I can't add anything on, it's already been used. It's useless. And so what do? I either transport it around my circulation, trying to find a way out, or I try and store it. Either way, it's got to go through my arterial system. And what happens is that it tends to stick to the inside of the artery. Now here's an interesting thing. Let's just imagine there you are standing in your kitchen and you've got a plate, a clean plate, and you mash up an avocado and you eat half of it. Unlikely, right? Anyway, you eat half of it and decide you're not going to have the other half. So you just turn on the cold tap and you rinse it under the tap and it all comes clean off the plate, right? You don't have to scrub it or chisel at it or anything. It just comes off the plate. You just wash it up and dump in the dryer. Now let's imagine that you take avocado on a plate and you mash it up and you put it in the oven, or you cook it. And you cook it and cook it and cook it. And then you take it out and you take a mouthful and you go, ugh. I can almost taste those free radicals, right? So you think, I don't want this, I'm going to get rid of it. And you put it in the sink. Can you just run the cold tap and it runs off? No. You've got to get your scrubbing brush and this and that bit of detergent and scrub and scrub. And eventually it'll come off. Why? Because heated fats are sticky. They're very, very sticky. And so now, here's an additional problem when we cook our food to do with heart disease. We take our saturated fat, perhaps because we're eating the meats and the dairies, which already our body can't use and is going to have to transport to the nearest exit. And then we set light to it effectively until it becomes sticky. And then we put something that is going to circulate through our system that's highly sticky and wonder why it's sticking to the inside of our arteries especially considering the inside of the arteries are already bumpy because of the excessive production of muscular cells triggered by the free radicals. Can you follow all that? Does that make sense? And so here we have a condition called atherosclerosis, where gradually the available hole for the blood to get through is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because the amount of plaquing and sticking up of saturated fats around the outside is getting bigger and bigger. And of course, eventually, that hole will get small enough that we start noticing it in our blood pressure. Imagine a garden hose and I've got water flowing through the end of the garden hose. You've got a certain amount of pressure. I might be able to reach you here in the front with my garden hose. But if I put my thumb partly across the end of the hose, what happens to the pressure? And I can get you right back there now. Yeah? The pressure will go up when the hole is smaller with the same amount of fluid trying to get through it. So now what we find is that the blood pressure's gone up and the doctors are saying, oh dear, you really need to watch your blood pressure's up. Yeah? Don't get so stressed. Well, stress does have its implications, certainly, because when we get stressed, we tend to pour more fats into our bloodstream to provide us with fuel for fighting or running, even if it's not always the best thing to do with your bank manager. But stress isn't really number one cause. The number one cause are these saturated sticky fats. Finally, the hole can get so small that it blocks off, and then boom, we've got a stroke or a heart attack happening.